Okay, thank you. Mr. Rankin, it's all yours.
Okay. Ms. Brudno, if you would please take the roll.
Mr. Rankin.
Here.
Mr. Kanziger.
Here.
Mrs. Brose.
Here.
Mrs. Garvey.
Here.
Mrs. O'Toole.
Here.
All right. I'd like to, I guess I'm doing this out of order, I'd like to call to order the May 27th, 6 p.m. meeting for the Chagrin Falls Board of Education. And we've already done the roll. So next thing we can do is the Pledge of Allegiance. So please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To
The flag
Of the
of the United
States
States
of America.
and to the republic
Republic for which it
which stands
one
nation
nation under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
with liberty
liberty and justice for all.
for all.
Thank you very much. Next, sorry, just getting the right screens on here. Next, we're going into the audience community participation. We have had a few folks contact us about speaking with the Board of Education. We have 4 in total, and first we're going to have Mr. Stewart address us, and then we'll go to the remaining 3. So, Mr. Stewart, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I want to thank the Board of Education for granting me this opportunity to talk about CCP. I would like to thank Dr. Hunt for hiring me 18 years ago. It was truly one of the greatest gifts in my life. I would like to thank Becky Quinn. You, along with Dr. Hunt, had a vision for CCP, where Chagrin could serve even more of the community by offering students an opportunity to challenge themselves with an actual college curriculum on campus and receive guaranteed college credit from schools like Ohio State, Miami University, and many others. I wrote this to the board in August of 2017. We have the chance to serve students traditionally not in an AP English class, expanding the opportunities for a part of our population that often does not see the same attention as an AP student. I'm thrilled to be a part of serving these students. And that is exactly what happened over the next 3 years. Building this course for a diverse group of students was the best thing that ever happened to me professionally in my 23 years of teaching. Thank you, Becky and Bob, for that. I'd like to thank my principal, Monica Asher, whose vision of an inclusive school that fosters the social emotional well-being of every student is inspirational. Thank you for your support, Ms. Asher. Most of all, I want to thank the community, and in particular the students and parents who voiced support for this program. Your students bought into something different and challenging 3 years ago, and that is what made this program work so well. I don't have a social media presence, but what I've been told leaves me humbled and filled with gratitude. Thank you. But I want to make this absolutely clear from the start. This is not about me. This is about an on-campus version of an academic program called College Credit Plus that benefits a huge percentage of the student body and has for the past 3 years. Also, I am not fighting for this class at the expense of a teacher. I believe it is a false premise to say that this is the $30,000 in the district budget that equates to a teaching position, as the district added many other expenses in the years after it made a commitment to run CCP. CCP cannot really be cut, as every community member can still enroll their student in CCP and attend it on a variety of campuses. By law, the school district must pay tuition. If this happened, the cost for the district would more than double, changing that $30,000 savings cited to a $60,000 deficit. Then you would truly lose a full-time position. What is interesting to me is there's no dispute on the educational value of the class, its past success, and its countless benefits to students. The class has been celebrated as an example of how to correctly deliver a college curriculum to a high school classroom. The only talking points are its cost and the fiction that it can be reproduced without any of what sustains it. This community consistently supports good education and programs like CCP. The outcry that resulted from this cut only solidifies that truth. CCP can be used as a selling point to pass a levy, as the financial benefit to the students who receive credit is sometimes tenfold or more the cost to the district. The savings from just a small percentage of students receiving credit far exceeds $30,000, making it one of the most demonstrably cost-effective programs in the district. I think it is cynical to think that community members who aren't utilizing the program aren't supportive of the money it's saving so many others. The most important point I want to make today is that CCP cannot exist as it is in even the most rudimentary way if it is run as a high school class. The reason this class works derives entirely from it being an actual college class that must follow the same curriculum as a composition class at Ohio State or Miami U. In contrast, any high school English course is a standards-based course based on Common Core high school standards. College Comp focuses solely on writing and articulating critical thinking. If you ever look at the high school English standards, they are pages longer than any of our other focus, and being so broad, they lack the depth of study that a college composition course provides. Students take the course seriously in part because of its autonomy from the rest of the school. CCP operates under Tri-C's academic policies and code of conduct. Before CCP, I was notorious for catching plagiarism in my classes. I have not caught one single plagiarized paper by a CCP student. That doesn't mean CCP students are automatically better or that I'm off my game. It means that when presented with the realities of an adult expectations, students act as responsible adults. This is true for Tri-C's policy on attendance, late work, and its policies that direct students to communicate one-on-one with the instructor. That will be gone. The students have to remain vigilant about knowing their own progress and grade just like they would in college. The electronic gradebook is not Infinite Campus and cannot be monitored without express permission from the student, or else it is a FERPA violation. The class curriculum requires that instruction time be used to fully explore the writing process, in-depth analysis, and wholesale revision. The students have to develop their own mature process for drafting and redrafting papers before deadlines, just like in college. And it certainly serves students well to learn executive functioning skills. That will be gone. CCP operating on our campus provides 3 times the amount of instruction time as compared to a typical course run at a college because we meet 5 days a week, not 2 or 3. For this reason, there is no class more perfectly suited for blended learning if we were forced to employ it next year. Presently, we use the extra time to mitigate workload, cover reading, and provide extensive feedback. There is no extra instruction time in a high school English class. There is standards-based learning that I must cover and that I'm evaluated on. Our CCP as it now in room 324 exists as a perfect transition between college and high school with a manageable workload and more time with the instructor. This will be gone. I'm evaluated twice a year, every year by Tri-C professors who previously taught the class. They provide extensive and detailed feedback. I receive anonymous feedback from the students compiled by the Tri-C evaluators so that I can see what the students feel is working or not working without prejudice. I work with the faculty on Tri-C's campus to discuss what new innovative practices are occurring in the field of teaching writing and to discuss what content is applicable to current college campuses. This results in the use of college-appropriate text to discuss current hot-button issues. The students also have access to Tri-C's academic and mental health resources, facilities, and databases. This will be gone. The state mandates that the course be the same weight as AP, incentivizing participation. Many students who honestly believe they were not college ready took a chance on this class, exceeding the course's reasonable prerequisites. And for the first time, they felt excited for English. College Comp is designed around all skill levels because at a school like Ohio State, freshmen walk on campus with a variety of writing experiences, mostly bad, and the composition courses are meant to lift everyone up, wherever their present skill level is, to where they can be successful on campus. This course absolutely hit the sweet spot of learning writing, where students who identify themselves as skilled writers learn that writing well has endless avenues for growth, and those who felt weak in English learn to find their voice and to articulate it well. Without the state mandates, collaboration with Tri-C, support of Tri-C's policies, curriculum, extra instruction time, in-depth focus, and added resources from Tri-C, any expectation that anything substantially like what occurs in this class would occur in a different class is completely unfair and patently absurd. Also, I want to make clear that CCP is not in competition with AP. It was never designed for that. AP is incredibly valuable and distinct in its own right, and in our department has some of the best instructors in the state. The 2 programs have been thriving side by side for 3 years. This brings us to an underutilized value of the class. In CCP, each semester equates to 1 year of high school credit. This means that if a student takes CCP junior year, that person has fulfilled their high school requirement and does not need to take English senior year. But a student could take AP and experience a different form of success, or take an elective, or focus on a different area of study. Other districts take advantage of CCP as a cost-saving practice with the additional year of credit. We do not. There are a myriad of completely unexplored and undiscussed combinations that can provide the district with flexibility in not replacing a full-time English teacher who retires or moves. Without CCP, this flexibility will be gone. I hope you now know what the $30,000 pays for. That being said, I do not believe any teacher should lose his or her job to run this program. The 7 through 12 English teachers are extraordinary people, and the newer members are among the most skilled and innovative I've ever met. I believe there are ways in which CCP could be used to accommodate attrition or to even add new dynamic electives. I believe there are ways to use this amazing program as a selling point to the community rather than as fodder for what appears to be an easy cut, but will end up costing so much more. Many of you suggest I am an educator of merit. I thank you for those sentiments. If I have honestly earned your trust as an educator and you actually see me as a quality teacher, then trust my expertise when I say we cannot reproduce even a shadow of CCP outside of the state mandated program. I'm resigned to the fact that the decision has already been made solely for financial reasons. I only implore the district to find a way to make this class work this coming year, as the course was promised to so many students. Then the community can express that it wants to fund this quality program or not. In any case, no teacher should lose their job to preserve it. A while back, we did fail a levy on a May ballot by around 60 votes. Although we passed the same levy by over 400 votes the next fall, so many cuts never came back. You have to be careful what you amputate in the name of finances over quality education, because when it's gone, it's gone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart.
Do you have some more letters to read, Bill?
Yeah, so actually, I'll go ahead and read Annie Mills. Hello, my name is Annie Mills. I am writing this email regarding the potential cancellation of Mr. Stewart's College Credit Plus class with the intention that it is a comment to read on the board meeting on Wednesday, May 27th. I was a sophomore when I took CCP. At the beginning of the year, I lacked confidence and individuality in my writing. Mr. Stewart would remind us almost daily that we were taking a college class. Instead of focusing on making sure everyone in the class was the same collective level, Mr. Stewart pushed us individually. He encouraged us to speak our opinions in class with no holding back. Not only did my writing vastly improve, but my confidence did as well. I will never consider myself an English person. My sister took English classes ahead of me, ahead of the rest of her grade, read all the time, and wrote in her free time. She had me beat in all types of writing. Even in middle school, she chose an extracurricular for writing, Power of the Pen. Once she perfected creative writing, she turned to debate, a completely new type of writing, and with that skill, she won the state tournament. The fact that I got an A in college English class as a sophomore made me realize that I have good ideas and that I have the toolbox to explain them. I have always shied away from class discussions, but the way in which the class is taught encourages the use of facts, proof, and reasoning to prove a point. This is much unlike most high school courses with discussions based on who can talk the loudest and who has the most emotional response. Mr. Stewart created a safe and honest space for discussion, which allowed me to gain confidence in myself and my ideas. This confidence carried over into discussions in many other classes. Overall, CCP has improved my writing and my character and the amount of personal growth that I experienced and would not have been possible if this course was taught as a high school English course. While I may enjoy STEM more than English, I took a college course and now feel confident enough in my writing to send a letter to the school board. Thank you, Annie Mills. Do you want to go, Ashley?
I will. I have two letters here. The first one is from Lori Bendel. She said, my daughter completed CCP English in May. She registered for the class because I wanted her to devote a greater portion of time to writing and revising that is included in the AP curriculum. I gave very little consideration to the fact that it was a college class, and in fact, I was skeptical. You hear that at curriculum night for every AP class. Wow, was I wrong? The framework of CCP English is completely different than any advanced track or AP class that my older daughter had taken. It is college freshman English. The timelines, level of responsibility, and consequences for failure are all akin to English classes that I took in college. My daughter's writing improved dramatically, but more importantly, her process for approaching a complex, multi-part assignment was completely transformed. Looking back, I believe that the thing that caused this transformation and what makes CCP such a vital class for our students is the very fact that it is a college class. Because of its structure and the credit conveyed, the students respect it, and my daughter engaged with the material in a way that could not have been duplicated in an AP or honors high school classroom. It's a game changer. Thank you, Lori Bindal. And I have a second one from Betsy Gregoire. I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that 100% correctly. To the Chagrin Falls Board of Education, in light of the late date of considering eliminating the CCP on-campus offering for the 2021 school year, I respectfully ask that the board reconsider due to the fact that current rising seniors are left with very few options guaranteed them by the state of Ohio. According to Ohio Revised Code 3365, students are to be given notice of their choices for CCP credit. Further, students are to declare their intention to participate by May 1st, 2020, an extension given this year due to the pandemic. Our students fulfilled this requirement when they declared their intention to take CCP English at Chagrin Falls High School. The district did give students notice of their choices. However, because they chose to take the classes at CFHS, they did not pursue other options for taking the class. If they're no longer given that option promised to them, they are forced to seek enrollment elsewhere at this late date. Having researched options, most local universities and colleges have deadlines for enrollment that either have already passed or are quickly approaching, making enrollment challenging at best. By not offering this class as promised, you are asking students to take an alternate class such as Honors English 12, which would eliminate the chance to have potentially thousands of dollars in cost savings credit earned before graduation. Although AP classes can have credit potential, not all students would be interested in or recommended by their current teachers to take an AP class. Having to take a class other than the promised CCP English class on campus would be a matter of due process because of the late notice of cancellation by the board. Furthermore, students who signed up for this class may have done so for many reasons, some of which include the availability of transportation or their current involvement in Excel tech programs. Involvement in these programs would make taking the class off campus impossible unless taken online. I realize the difficult position the board is in to make necessary cuts at this time, but I feel that this is one area that, due to timing, puts these specific students and families in an unfair position. Then she asks two questions. What is the cost per student to take CCP English at Chagrin Falls High School? And what is the cost per student to take the same class at a local university or online? Thank you in advance for considering this cut for the 2021 school year. Respectfully, Betsy Gregoire.
Phil, I just want to add in, those were letters that were sent with a request that they be added formally to the public comment. And we did receive quite a number of other letters. So just to acknowledge, there was a great deal of input provided to the board on this, and we did receive those letters and we have read them.
Correct. Yeah, about approximately 20 emails, I think, that I saw. Okay, Mr. Hunt, do you want to address the class for this year?
Sure. First of all, I appreciate the comments and the input from Mr. Stewart and certainly all the parents and Annie who took the time to write the school board. I know we've communicated our financial challenges, but I think it's appropriate for everyone to kind of understand in the kind of place we're operating from. Obviously, in 2017, we passed a combined bond and operating levy. This spring, would be up for a new levy. We spent this spring working diligently to determine what number was appropriate to retain all of our operations and continue our programming. That number was 7.9, and the board was in the process of deciding whether that made sense to go in August or November. We obviously landed into the midst of this crisis very unexpectedly, and the board is under my guidance recommendation as well, decided we needed to reduce the millage amount to recognize the economic impact on our community. So that was the work we had slated and started to do, cutting about $350,000 from our budget when the governor of Ohio announced over a $300 million reduction to the state budget, introducing a formula that basically was based on capacity. So wealthier property value districts got a larger cut. So we reduced about $534,000. I think we all were expecting a budget reduction. I don't think we were expecting that it would be reduced from this year. So the district's in the position of, out of its current budget, sending a check back to the state of Ohio. Additionally, last meeting, I recommended to the board that we not continue with the collection of tuition for full day kindergarten, which equates to about a $260,000 item. What lies ahead is a lot of unknowns in terms of what we may need to cut, what we need to put in place in terms of PPE and sanitizer and cleansing and transportation, because we don't have the clarity in what next school year will look like. So with unknown certainly comes additional financial risk. So we went through the process already this year of looking at possible reductions and reduced $350,000 in reductions without impacting staff. And certainly CCP was not on the list at that time. So let me address CCP specifically. I think it's important to note this is a program that was identified while I've been superintendent. So my support of it, I think has been ongoing. We worked to find a grant to fund the coursework that sent Mr. Stewart to get his appropriate certification. He certainly completed that, and he's built an excellent program. This was, for me, was never a value conversation in terms of the program. The program is valued, as you can see. It's a financial conversation because it carries a cost for college credit and books for the district. The reality is that some students are able to leverage that credit when they go off to school and some are not. Certainly, the experience is something that all students carry with them. For me, there's really two decision points for the school board. The first is, do we eliminate CCP for next year? Financially, we'd be at risk of not hitting our savings and or increasing our costs, as likely those students that are enrolled right now, if we return in a virtual world, would probably enroll in Tri-C and continue with the course and actually increase our fees. Last week, I shared with the Board of Education specific recommendations for that, the student or the staff members that were impacted. This included a recommendation from me to retain CCP for next year and move away from it the 21-22 school year. This was based in the timing of the year for our students, in which we may return, as it may impact students pursuing this as any way which would cost more money. I agreed with the direction we were heading last week because the board creatively challenged us to find a way to retain staff. In doing so, we did capture the dollars with eliminating CCP for next school year. The second decision point for me is about the future. I've already addressed that this is not a value conversation. This is a financial decision. With 7.9 mils, if that's the number the board decides to go and approach the district or the community with, we will still have to make reductions. Moving away from the college tuition component of the course saves dollars and likely staff over a levy cycle. This means we retain our teacher, and we're challenged to create a program that continues to educate and offer a great experience for students. Finally, the situation is fluid and ever-changing. Last Friday, we received a resignation from a high school math teacher. I asked Ms. Asher to work with the department to develop a plan to not replace the position. The department and Ms. Asher have done a great job accomplishing this task, although we still have a section of 2 computer science courses that need to be filled. This work provides an opportunity to move a current ESC tutor at Chagrin Falls Intermediate School into a vacant ELA position in grade 5. This tutor position is necessary. However, with the likelihood of returning to the school in a hybrid model, I believe we have staff available to backfill this need until we return to a normal schedule. This allows my initial recommendation that I brought to the board to be possible, which is to continue to offer CCP for 2021. The school board can make a decision on the class moving forward based on current financial conditions and potential levy outcome. This also allows those students that are most dramatically impacted, the ones currently scheduled in the course, to complete the course, and creates clarity for decision-making for our students and our parents moving into the future.
That was really nicely stated. Thank you. I did want to just underscore a couple of things that we talked about at the last few board meetings. We have quite a bit of unknowns when it comes to our expenditures, additional requirements that might be imposed upon the district due to social distancing. But we also have a lot of uncertainty with regard to our revenues. And we don't know if we're going to be able to pass a levy. We don't know what additional state cuts are coming our way. There's a lot of economic factors that make our forecast the riskiest one that we've dealt with in a very long time. And that has led to what Bob underscored as well, that many of the cuts that we're talking about are needed regardless of a levy outcome. They are needed because of the cuts in state funding. They are needed because we are not going out for the full millage of a levy that we ideally would be doing. And so I think that's just really important to underscore for the community. We're not presenting a list of cuts that we're saying, hey, we're going to reinstate all of these if we pass the next levy. The reality is if we don't pass the next levy, we're talking about a whole nother list of cuts that gets a lot more uncomfortable for everybody. So thank you, Mr. Stewart, and thank you to the parents and students. I mean, how great to hear from students who chimed in, and Mr. Hunt for your leadership. And I know as a board and as an administration, we are continuing to look for creative and ways to address these needs, as well as incorporating new information, which is very fluid. We have a list of things we're continuing to evaluate further. A lot of these are presumed savings that we're trying to tighten up those numbers, and our treasurer, Ashley Brudno, is working on that very hard as well. So we'll continue to have more information in the coming months that firm it up. But I feel like we are united about the fiscal year 21 list of cuts that we need to have going into the fall.
Okay. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Stewart. And we'll move on to the next section of the meeting. Thank you, Mr. Hunt, for your comments, and Mrs. Garvey for wrapping it up. So we'll move on now to the superintendent's recommendations. Can I have a motion for superintendent's recommendations 4A through 4D?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Dr. Hunt, if you would like to address these points.
Item A is a recommendation to accept the resignation of Emily Beal. Emily is a high school math department member. She's been very involved in our school district, both in the classroom and outside of the classroom. It's with a really heavy heart that I accept this resignation, or recommend this resignation be accepted. Her husband received a position out of state, and obviously that impacts her ability to be employed at Chagrin Falls. But I did want to say publicly, Emily has been a tremendous asset to our school district and to our students, and I want to publicly thank her for everything she has done. This resignation tied to the comments that I had previously made. Item B is a recommendation to implement a reduction in force of non-teaching and non-bargaining positions. This is specific to the technical support specialist and the community relations director. I want to thank them both for their service to our district. They've brought a tremendous amount to what we offer to our public, the support that we have for our teachers in the area of technology, and they will greatly be missed. These are one of the tough decisions that we're forced with now. Item C is the reduction in force related to our certified staff positions. That includes the reduction of one math secondary position, one social studies secondary position, and one elementary position at Chagrin Falls Intermediate School. Let me work backwards up. Elementary position at CFIS is related to class size specifically. The social studies and math positions, those in the department have worked or will be assigned additional classes based on our negotiated agreement to offset the need for those teachers. I want to specifically mention Miss Asher and the math department again. This all came down Thursday midday, and by Friday they had a scenario in which we would not have to replace this position. I also don't want to not acknowledge that this does have impact. It has an impact on class size. It has an impact on teaching load. So those things are sacrifices that are being made due to this difficult time. I want to acknowledge also, although not on this agenda, we've previously reduced a foreign language position by 0.5. We also made the decision, originally budgeted for an additional kindergarten section. We've increased class size at grade 2 and transferred an employee teacher over into the kindergarten to offset that section. I appreciate the work with sires and communication with these folks. We are not actually having to eliminate a person or an individual with these reductions due to most of this being able to be accomplished through attrition, which is a great thing. But I do want to point out these are not positions that were fluff. People will be picking up the load as we move forward during these tumultuous times. Item D is the first recommendation on the classified staff. This is a reduction of 3.5 hour aides specific to the high school. That will be tied to the elimination of tiger time, most likely. This is in addition to 1 aide already cut at the high school earlier this year that I talked about.
Bob, your mic.
Sorry, am I good?
Yeah.
Did I break up at certain point?
Do D again.
Yeah.
Item D is 3.5 hour aide positions at the high school. This will most likely coincide with a elimination of tiger time at the high school. Administration at the middle school and high school is still working through that. I did want to highlight that this is also addition to an additional cut of 1 high school aide that we made earlier in the year to achieve that initial $350,000. Again, this will impact programming in terms of what we offer and in terms of the service of tiger time and our ability to have aides cover duties while our teachers are accessing students. So these are not going without implication. I will say also we were able to accomplish these reductions with attrition. Last thing I would say, I would consider this kind of the first round as we look at how we open school. There's a lot of unknowns in terms of the expectations, in terms of how we need to clean and sanitize our buildings, what we need to provide to our students in terms of temperature checks and sanitizers, what our transportation can look like. Remaining additional classified cuts at this point, but I would anticipate looking at that when we better understand our model going forward. Lastly, I certainly could go through those, but I did introduce a variety of cuts over the next 3 years to our community on Friday. Obviously, they'll require additional action as we go through. Some of them will be actually a lack of action will implement the cut, but obviously this is a tough time for us, and I appreciate the support of the board in making these difficult decisions and pushing us to be as creative as possible to get this done with the limited, impact on our staff and what we offer to kids.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, Bob. I mean, yes, knowing that we're going through the state of Ohio financial cuts and then the significant cuts that are going to be coming at us with COVID-19, let alone whatever cost increases may be coming at us with different offerings that we have to provide. So yeah, I definitely don't want it to be lost. As you mentioned, I mean, we were able to do this without eliminating heads, but there's remaining departments that are picking up the load of people that are there. So all of these people are working, theoretically 1/5 harder or something like that. So there's definitely a lot of hard work by these departments, and yeah, not in a public setting, but having sat in your shoes and have to walk through these, it's not a fun thing. So I'm certain that it's taken a toll on you. So I appreciate your leadership through this situation. And we're going to have to keep going, unfortunately. But thank you.
Just for the benefit of community members who may not get emails from the district, is there a place that they can go to see your letter that went out? With,
Yeah, I believe on the district website. In fact, I'll have it moved over to the district main page.
okay, and that will reflect the change you announced tonight about College Credit Plus not being affected this year.
Well, it will. I'll have to modify it.
Okay.
And I appreciate all the hard work that went into this. I know cutting is very difficult, but necessary. And I think, I'm thrilled that we had the number of retirements we had this year, because that makes things a little easier. But then I also, I feel badly for the technology position and the community position. I mean, those people were very valuable and utilized, and we're just gonna, have to get along without them for now.
Yeah. Thank you, Ashley, for keeping score. I've kept score through these exercises before, and it's a pretty fluid situation, especially when you let us into your worksheet. That's a bad idea.
It's a copy.
Wise. Any further discussion on this? All right, seeing none, Ms. Brudno, if you'd please take the roll.
Mr. Rankin,
Yes.
Mr. Kanziger,
Yes.
Mrs. Bros,
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Toole.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to other business. Does anybody have any other business they need to bring to the board's attention?
I will be reaching out to the board regarding graduation. With Governor DeWine kind of putting out that banquet centers could have 300 people. I did receive a variety of emails over the weekend about wanting to move to a live graduation ceremony. ODE came out just reiterating where they were already with guidance from the health department that was specific to those centers, and reiterated the list of types of graduation ceremonies you were allowed to have. We have submitted an original plan to the health department for approval that would have involved a week in June where we socially distance, bring our graduates up, we recognize them, we allow them to get their diplomas. We're going to produce a video, and we'll retain that date in June, that if things changes, because if we know anything, they're going to change. We could go in some type of live environment, or we can just launch the final produced video as a graduation ceremony. So wanted to make you aware of that. I think Ms. Asher's just kind of finalizing details, and communication will go out to parents. And I'll certainly include the board on that.
You said,
I want to clarify, you mean retain the date in July, the July 11th date?
Yeah, we're going to retain that date either way. And if we can do something creative with social distancing, we'll do something. We'd have to reapply to the health department for approval. But if not, we'll also use that date where we launch the video produced graduation ceremony so people could plan around that date. We are going to videotape though and go through that process here in June. It just gives the film producer more time to create a better video. If at the end of this, if we can do distancing and we can provide this to the senior class, if any class deserves a little something more, it's the senior class. So we'll give them the video as a keepsake.
And just a reminder, the senior class is having a parade this Sunday, and the route is on the district website under the class of 2020 celebrations. Basically leaves the high school with a police escort and goes down Washington, through town, up Bell, and back to the high school. And people are welcome to be included in standing out front and banging pots and pans from a social distance. I'm sure our students would appreciate it.
All right, anything else for other business? Okay, seeing none, announcing our next meeting, Wednesday, June 3rd at 6 p.m. on the video chat on Zoom. Not Zoom. I believe that's all we have. If we have a motion for adjournment,
I will motion to adjourn.
second.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Brudno, if you'd please take the roll.
Mr. Rankin,
Yes.
Mr. Kanziger,
Yes.
Mrs. Bros,
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Toole.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Night.